It's the Kink Consultant Podcast, where we're turning up the heat on all things kink and dating, relationships, and pop culture. So close the door, plug in your headphones, and let's get down to it. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Kink Consultant Podcast. I'm here with my own Dom. Welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thank you for agreeing to come on and answer all of the questions I have for you today. So we are going to talk about our personal DS dynamic and your role as my Dom, but also just your experience in the kink community in general.
Totally fair.
So I have some of my own questions, but I also sourced questions from Instagram. I put up an Ask Me Anything, so we got about 40 questions, and we're not going to be able to go through all of those. We actually got
all the good people of Instagram coming around.
Yep. Lots of good questions for you.
I'm curious about your questions. These are going to be interesting.
We're going to start with questions for you.
Okay.
But like general questions. Okay. How long have you been in the kink scene?
That's a really good question. I think that, like most people, I started in some capacity knowing at a very young age. Definitely been online lying about my age for a lot longer than I should have been in certain forums, chat rooms, sites, things like that, where you may or may not have to have been 18 and lied about it.
What sites?
Various sites. Spanking Tube was one of the big ones that I got into at a young age. A lot of Google searches and stuff like that. Found stuff through different various porn sites and stuff. And then finally, spanking being my biggest kink kind of led that direction early on.
When you were younger, did you understand that spanking was your biggest kink?
Yeah, I think so. Like, that was always where my mind drew to. Like, always growing up. That was what I wanted before I even wanted to kiss a girl. I was like, no, let me spank her butt. Like, that's what I'm interested in.
I literally talk about that in an episode. Like, growing up, I wanted boys to spank me and not kiss me. Yeah. Understood. Okay. So you've known from a really young age. There was no, discovery. But, okay, did you know it was a thing that, tied into your sexuality and your sex life?
I don't think I quite understood what my sex life was, anything else like that. It was all a form of self-discovery. So, knowing what I did or didn't like, sexually, non-sexually, I knew it made my mind tick. I knew it definitely did something for my head. I didn't know what it was, but...
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you know it was weird? You were into it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I've definitely felt weird the whole time. Other people didn't talk about it. Everybody else was talking about, have you kissed this person? Have you whatever? Have you... What base did you get to? I'm like, what base is smacking somebody's butt? Because that's the base I want to get to. I don't think that's on the... I think I'm playing cricket and not baseball at this point. I don't quite know how this works because cricket involves a paddle, I'm pretty sure. So maybe that's my game.
I equate spanking to hugs, but not the type I like. I'd say second base.
Okay.
If I had to put a base for it.
With pants, without pants. I mean, it all changes.
Isn't second base touching someone's boobs under the bra?
I couldn't tell you.
Oh, I don't know either, actually. Okay. But that's what I think it is.
Figured, yeah. I know what a home run is.
Well, that's sex.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then what's third base?
Naked, oral, I don't know.
Listeners
pitch in.
Yeah, please, comment below if you have the answer. We are so bad at normal sex things, because, I...
Tried to do normal sex things, it didn't work. It's fine.
Okay, what age did you spank did you give your first spanking?
15.
Okay, yeah, I got my first one at 14. Okay.
Rub it in.
No.
It's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Did you understand, though, that this was, how you're going to be for the rest of your life? For me, the way I entered it, I was like, I'm going to secretly have this need met forever and just try and live a normal life. I never really considered having it in my relationship long-term, anything like that.
I think for the big part, I never understood it would come to this level in my life. I knew that interest was going to be there and everything else. I mean, at 15, it was kind of that first girlfriend in high school situation. We kind of talked about it and everything else, but it was always in a flirty, fun kind of way. You never really, got deeper to the real root of it. So, yeah, let's just, smack your butt a couple times, stuff like that. Never really went too deep. And you're like, oh, okay, well, at least it satiates my appetite for now. That might just be all of it, and then we'll just have a normal vanilla relationship outside of that, and it's fine, and I'll just continue to watch the videos and things like that get me later, and yeah, it was all fine. So knowing that I needed it that capacity wasn't even on my radar at that time.
Was she into it?
No.
Not at all?
She would do it for me, but it wasn't...
her thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, understandable. It's not everyone's thing. When did you start, if ever, identifying as a dom?
So... obviously, you join the FetLife, and you have to at that point. establish who you want to be and everything else. And it's kind of fun because you get to pretend who you are. Just walking in the door, you're like, oh, well, I identify this way, so that obviously makes me a whatever. So I was definitely the internet dom for a little while, the dom by title. And I was like, oh, well, I'm a dom, so obviously anyone who's a sub has to instantly respect me. Because,
no way.
Oh, that's the way it went in my mind. And it's like,
how old were you?
Oh, I was young. I think I found Fet when I was like 21, 2. Well, I was young and naive. I mean, I dated the girl until I was early 20s, so it was right out of that relationship, and I was still the one person I had been with and hadn't really talked to the dating game, the world, the scene, any of that stuff, so I was totally new in all of it.
I was stupidly married at 20, so, like, I had my own bad takes on how things should go or how things were. Okay, so you came into FetLife and you were the dom. How did you figure it out? Because I think there are a lot of people, and a lot of people ask me this question of, like, real doms, how to train a dom type of thing. Like, so obviously you were teachable. How did you learn?
I originally started on Spanking Tube, and I was elated whenever I found FetLife, because FetLife you can actually search in your local area all of the kinksters that are actually around you, which was such a helpful thing. And then obviously everybody pretty much has their whole list of kinks and fetishes and things on there that, you're like, oh, okay. So I, naivete, didn't really look for anything but something that said spanking. Like, I didn't give a crap what anybody else was into. I wanted somebody who was submissive and into spanking, and just started messaging people. Just blanket sending things like, hey, I noticed you're into spanking. I'm also into spanking. Do you want to X and Y and Z? And I actually had really good responses because I walked into it with the mentality of learning and ignorance.
Yeah.
Literally would walk in and say, hey, I'm very new to this. Just found this site, found all this, like, have very little experience, but I would love to do it. So can we talk? And and had great responses from certain people. There were a lot of older members in the group, older meaning just more established, that had a lot of good words of wisdom, things like that, things on how to approach, respect, that kind of stuff. All of those kind of people actually kind of led me in a right direction of like, hey, maybe do this, maybe attend certain functions and things. I've never really been one for public functions and things like that. I enjoy my play more in private settings, but they were all welcoming and everything else. They introduced me to local munches and things like that I never attended, but they were all so welcoming to the idea of everything. And then how to talk, how to approach, those kinds of things.
You did all of the play privately.
I did.
You never went to any educational events, any parties?
Nope.
Starting. You were like finding people on FetLife. Did you meet up with anyone who you messaged that way?
I did. I've met with a few people at FetLife. Not a ton, but over the last few years, there have been a decent number there.
Okay.
Obviously, the more accreditation you get, the less creepy you look like online. If you're just a guy with 2 photos of yourself online and nothing really behind it other than saying, hey, I like this, doesn't go so well. But the more posts you make, the more things you become a real person, less of a threat. And
like the more friends you make too.
Friends, you get tagged in a couple things, you write a couple things. Pictures are a big thing. Keeping things current is a huge thing. You want to share pictures both currently of yourself, but maybe even of play partners and things like that with consent from those people, if they're willing to allow you to share those kinds of things. It says, hey, look, I do have other people that allow me to do this with them and enjoy this with them, and they trust me, so maybe you can too.
That's good tips for FetLife.
One of the big things is approach the way you would want to be approached. I mean, approach with the same respect and gravitas that you would respect in somebody else, and just approach it like you would real life, not online. Don't be a online keyboard warrior, because you can.
All of that makes sense, except you didn't go to classes. Did you find a mentor? Like, how did you learn how to do the things? Because as someone who's experienced you doing the things, you're quite good at it. Skills-wise, you are very good with impact play. All implements you've used, you have amazing aim. That alone, okay? Do you think the power play part comes naturally to you?
I think it comes naturally. I mean, I am an influential and dominant person in my regular life. I deal with things regularly in my life. I think it allows me to approach things with the same logic and intensity that I do, both in my personal life and my real life. So that's helpful. And I think everybody has their own personality. I mean, for the doms, every dom has a different way about them, everything else. I don't even call myself a dom. I don't like the title. Like, it just doesn't work in my head the way it does for other people. Like, just in me. It's who I am.
Okay, but
I feel a role. I understand. I understand the label would fit.
Yeah. No, but I know. I remember because I'm the one who told you. I was like, oh, you are a dom. Like, I've never called myself that. No. Except, evidently, on FetLife at 21 years old.
Yeah.
Okay.
And since then, now I have no title on Fet.
You don't? Okay.
Literally, that doesn't even say anything. It doesn't Label me as anything.
Okay. Was there a moment where dominance finally clicked for you, though? You knew this. You were learning stuff on FetLife. Was there a moment where you felt like, I'm really getting this, or I'm good at this?
I think for me, it was actually meeting with people who had similar interests. And believe it or not, that happened more from the vanilla world than it did from sites like FetLife and things like that. Meeting women who were into the same thing and into that dominant that let me step into that role, because trying to be dominant with people who are not into that doesn't really work. It doesn't empower you the same way. It doesn't allow you to flex those mental and physical muscles in the same way that is productive and enjoyable for both people. And I'm one of those people, if it's not enjoyable for both parties, it's not going to be enjoyable for me.
I think that's a really hard way to do it, because sometimes you are just going to do something for the other person, and that person is sometimes just going to do things for you. It's
and
still
at that
enjoyable.
Part, there's an enjoyment aspect in that. Like, there are things that I do for you and things that you do for me that we wouldn't necessarily ask for. However, we enjoy it because we enjoy each other and we enjoy pleasing the other person. And in that aspect, it is enjoyable. Maybe not the act itself, but the giving in the act itself is the enjoyable portion. Whereas with people who aren't of the kinky mindset, wouldn't enjoy it one way or another. They would just sit there, suffer through it, be like, okay, are you done? Like,
True.
Can we move on?
Hey, I have a secret I'm finally ready to talk about. I've never really been a vibes girl. I know, shocking coming from the kink consultant, but that's changing. I'm teaming up with my friends at Babeland for an 8-week self-pleasure journey. Every Friday, I'm trying a new toy and sharing what I learn about my body, my pleasure, and what actually feels good. If you want to follow along, check out my Friday Vibe series on Instagram and Substack. And while you're here, check the show notes for my most recent review. Keep on kinking on. What's one thing you do for me that you don't fully enjoy?
Somebody really is a bitey little punk sometimes. Hey,
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm not a big fan of it. But
You're not a fan of me biting because it hurts. And equally, some of the things that I do for you that I don't enjoy are going to certain pain levels that I don't fully enjoy, but I do for you. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. We're giving in equal ways. This is a question I don't think I've ever asked you because I've experienced it, but like, would you be able to describe your dominant style? We've talked about this. I think you're strict. You do not think you're strict.
I don't think I'm strict. I also think I have more of a quiet dominance than a loud dominance. Like, my dominant style is never, like, loud and overly assertive and, like, people walk in, like, you know, it's not that way. I'm more like, sit back, let things go unless I'm needed. Once I'm needed to step up and take control, then there's control taken. But for the most part, like, let things go, gentle directions and coercions, and then if I see a need to step up, then we step up and make something happen.
Okay. How would you define our dynamic?
I mean, I would say that Dom-Sub is probably a good dynamic descriptor, but I don't know. My definition would be it works. That's the long and the short. It just works.
Okay. Sort of, right?
Yeah.
But, like, we didn't just naturally make it happen. We talked about a ton of things, like our views on it, and it did just work. We lined up on a lot of things, and I think that's how we're here now. But I think that there were certain values we both had. For example, I am not a bratty sub.
There are bratty tendencies. You are overly not a bratty individual. However, you have bratty tendencies when looking for certain attentions.
I don't know.
We just created a new label for you as punk-ass princess, which encompasses a better embodiment
I'll take that one.
of...
Yes, that's actually a really good one. Okay, fine. But you were looking for a good girl. You didn't want a brat. You didn't want a little. There are, like, multiple different types of submissives that I could have been. And, like, that was part of it. And I think our dynamic kind of, that's why it's, I guess, most simply put as Dom-Sub. Okay, do you believe all Doms have the same responsibility? Like, there's a level of responsibility that all Doms need to have?
I think the number one thing about being a Dom is you need to have the interest or best interest of the other person in mind whenever you're doing whatever you're doing. Whatever your dynamic is, whether it's a single-time play partner, whether it's, you know, weekend warrior type plays, whether it's just kind of casual, whatever it is, you cannot take advantage of the other person because of their submissive role. That's the number one thing in a Dom style that I'm like, it doesn't matter what your style is, it doesn't matter who you're with, it doesn't matter what your dynamic is. The number one thing is there has to be respect, and the number one thing is, as a Dom, your job is to be the leader of whatever it is. So if you're going to be that leader, you need to do it in a healthy way. That's the number one thing that needs to go across the board, no matter what happens. That's it.
Okay, so what does leadership mean to you?
To me, it depends on the relationship. In our relationship, being a leader is making sure that you're safe. making sure you're taken care of, make sure you feel seen. Simple little things like the vanilla world of making sure you're eating right, drinking our waters. We do a good job of looking out for each other in those kinds of ways where it's lead by example of, I want you to drink enough water. Well, I need to make sure I drink enough water. I need to make sure, oh, you're being safe. I need to be safe. I want you to check in. I'm going to check in. So for those kinds of ways, I lead in those ways. Just try to take care as best you can.
Take care of the people around you or everything?
The people that you're supposed to, like me, take care of you. The world around me, you have your own things, your own business, your own podcast, your own world that you need to take care of. My job isn't to take care of your business. That's your job. My job is to take care of you. And the better I take care of you, the better you can handle your world.
That's true.
So there is stuff in your life that I try to take care of, like making sure sleep schedule's enough, making sure there's water, making sure we're looking out for each other. Those kinds of things, and then allowing you to go into the world and be the best version of yourself you can be.
Hey Kinksters, if you've ever held back from sharing your desires because you were afraid of being judged or shut down, this is for you. I'm hosting a live 1-hour workshop called How to Tell Your Partner Your Kink on Wednesday, December 3rd at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. You'll learn to communicate your desires with confidence and clarity so you can feel seen and connected instead of anxious or misunderstood. It's just $26, includes a workbook, and it's happening live on Zoom so I can answer all of your questions in real time. Join me and learn how to express what turns you on in a way that builds trust and intimacy. RSVP at amandadames.com or use the link in the show notes. Okay, that's all really good points. And I actually want to walk back calling you strict. You are consistent. That is what you have going. Like, it's not strict, it's actually consistent. So, like, you don't falter on if you say something is a certain type of way, that's it. You're not going to change. Like, another 2 weeks, it doesn't change. And if it does, we talk about it.
And that consistency can be hard, too. Like, so listen up, peoples of the internet.
Yes.
It's hard. You have to be consistent, but you have to be able to approach things with a learning style. I mean, we had a little issue the other day where we were being consistent. Everything was in dynamic the way it should have been, but we just weren't clicking in the right way. It was one of those things where we worked through it, we got through it, but that consistency is what's important in setting up those boundaries and then like, hey, listen, this is the way things have to progress in our relationship. If there's an issue, we can discuss it and everything else. That's how we do things, and we're still organizing, we're still figuring out our dynamic. I mean, we're still new. And those were something, it was a new thing for us. And we figured it out, and we've learned new communication styles and how to do things. We're learning better ways to communicate how we're feeling in things, that if we need to, the last thing we discussed was being able to pause.
Yeah.
In the relationship. Like, if we're not feeling it right now, both of us, one person, the other person, that doesn't mean necessarily whatever's happening just ends and it's forgotten about. But literally putting a pause on it, allowing both people to process, come together in a coherent and easier manner and tone, figure out what the best course of action forward is. And it's super healthy. I think it's something that's going to be super great for us.
I agree. The one thing I took away from that time was you reminding me this is the dynamic we agreed to be in. Because it was like, it's really easy for me to play the victim mode in my own head of like, this is terrible, I hate this, why am I doing this? Like, because I do sometimes think it's like playing life on hard mode, and then you just coming to me and saying, this is what we agreed to before I even voiced any of my things was helpful, because I was like, yep, we did agree to this. And the second thing is, this happened months ago. We were having sex, and I don't know what I did. One of the rare occasions I was bratty. And you... Rare. You stopped us having sex, and you maybe got some implement to punish me with, and I remember genuinely feeling bad. I was like, he had to stop having fun because I did something outside of what we agreed on, and then it's like stopping fun for both of us, and I kind of felt guilty about it, and I said something, and you were like, this is what I signed up for, as in what you had signed up for, and it changed the way I thought about our dynamic too, and just how we relate to each other, because I'm like, oh yeah, when I do something, I can't push you in a direction because you will stay true and consistent to your role, and then I am fucking with that by being a brat, and it kind of made me realize, like, you didn't sign up to be in a role with a brat, a dynamic with a brat, and again, it was just one of those rare occasions, and I credit it to why I'm less bratty overall, because you are consistent, and I'm like, there's no point.
What's funny is I remember the exact instance. I remember the whole way it went down, everything else. I don't remember what the behavior was or whatever it was. I remember it was one of those things, like in our dynamic, once punishment's over, it's over. And as soon as we were done, you were like, can we go back to having sex? I was like, yeah, we can. Like, we can go back to this now. Like, if we're both in a good headspace and everything, like, we're done. We're clear. The slate's wiped clean. Like, we're moving on. And it was just like, huh. Like, that was something new to me. Like, I'd never been in that position before where it was like, okay, we just got through this and somebody wanted to be like, hey, can we go back to this? Like, that was new. And I processed it. Like, I had to go through my head. I was like, yeah, that is okay. Like, we're done. This is over. Like, moving forward.
Okay, what did you have to learn about me, either as a person or as a submissive, that changed the way you lead or helped you be better in your role?
One of the big things for us is communication styles. We're not 100% authoritarian in just the way we do things a lot of the times. It's not just a do this now because of X and Y and Z or things like that. A lot of it is approaching things with a certain gravitas, a certain...
Respect,
yeah. And just an understanding. Like, if somebody's in a bad headspace or, you know, having a hard day or whatever, it's how we approach things and how we talk about things, and the way we approach and talk about things is huge.
Okay, but was that me specific? Like, did you have to adapt to me at all in that way? Because there are ways I think you did have to adapt to me. Like, I think...
do share.
And I think that you still get really frustrated with me at times. I don't know why. I'm perfect, but... No.
Punk-ass princess means nothing. It just, yeah.
No, but do you even know what I'm referring to when I say that sometimes you get frustrated with me? I'm trying to think. Like, we've definitely had arguments. I think it's worth noting we're long distance. Like, we visit each other, but it takes time. So a lot of our conversations it's strenuous to be on the phone and having to talk through things and not actually be close to each other. And we're actually going to talk about long distance and how we keep our dynamic going through that. But is there anything specific you had to adapt to with me or get used to?
I don't think so. Nothing comes to mind immediately. Like,
nothing outside of what a normal relationship is. So, like, you get to know someone, you get to know how they communicate. Yeah, that's
the
fair.
big things. Is just learning communication styles. Learning what's important to the other person is a huge thing. Like, being on the phone is important to you. I hate being on the phone. That's one of those things that I sat down. I said, no, if this is going to be the person I'm with and we're going to do this over distance, like, I'm willing to make the sacrifice of being on the phone. We both really also enjoy having the other person to talk to all day. So we text quite a bit through the day, share random things, little clippets, the amount of Instagram reels and things like that I send that you don't respond to.
Ahoy, Kinksters. I've got something exciting to share. I've teamed up with the Kinky Cruise to bring you in-person workshops, play parties, and a full week of sun, sea, and sexy adventure with people who get it. This is the only cruise designed just for Kinksters, and that's why I would love to see you be part of this trip. Join me on board by heading to kinkycruise.com and use code TKC50 for $50 off per person. Let's take kink to the high seas. What's been your favorite moment of getting to know each other or our dynamic so far?
That's a really hard question there, Punk. There's a lot of good moments. I don't know. Probably chasing you down a hallway to pick you up and carry you back to the hotel room.
Oh, that was good.
On our first weekend that we'd ever known each other. Like, we weren't even dating at the time, but she was still being a punk-ass princess.
One of the,
threw an implement across the room for whatever reason and ran out of the hotel room. Thinking she could get someplace. She runs like she has 2 left feet.
Stop it. You're really
and
fast.
And club legs.
You are taller than me. I'm 5'5". You are 6'2". You can run faster. That's why. I was not a slow runner.
You weren't fast.
Okay, I'll give you that. I also was not fast. That's your favorite moment? Okay, that's fun.
It's definitely one of my favorite moments, yeah.
Okay. Do you want to hear my favorite moment?
Yeah, please.
Do you think you know it?
No, I don't think I do.
I don't think you do either. It was when we were on the phone to each other and I was talking. We weren't even fully dating yet. We were getting to know each other. And I talked to you about wanting to maybe have other play partners while we were still figuring it out. Because I was like, we're not official. And you talked to me. You just had this really no bullshit approach to it. You weren't angry. You just explained, this is what dating intentionally means to me. And if that's not what it means to you, then we're not on the same page about this. And I know what I'm looking for. And I remember in that moment, you laid it out so clearly. All of my defenses came down, walls came down and everything. And I just thought, oh, this is a leader. And it was one of the first conversations where we had where it wasn't just fun. It was a serious conversation. And I felt like you were leading. And I was like, okay, this is an option to go in this direction, or I can have multiple play partners. And that was my favorite moment because it was the first thing that changed anything for me in a big way. So that stands out.
I like it.
Okay. Wait, I do have a question though. How did you get good? I asked you this earlier. I mentioned you're really good at impact play. How are you so good with a belt, a strap, a cane, all of the implements? Precision. Did you practice on a pillow, a person? Or is there some poor bottom out there that got totally fucked up because you were learning how to aim?
I don't believe I've ever fucked up a bottom in ways it shouldn't have been messed up. I mean...
Okay, that's a fair way to put it.
Yeah, like I've messed up plenty. I have a lot of practice. I made my first paddle before ever even owning or swinging one, and wielded it pretty well, I thought. But
Would the bottoms you've played with agree?
I would think so.
Is it the round-headed one?
Oh,
okay.
That's the one that says "Spank me, sir" across it, and it's really long. It's
the one.
Basically a principal's paddle style, just thinner, not as wide.
No, you're very good with a cane. In my pro days, I was very good with it. It's been years since that. All right, a lot of people want to know, how do you meet a dom? A little bit about how we met. We met at a convention.
Yes.
For Kink, and we didn't talk online before it. There was a welcome event at a bar, and we were both at the welcome event being social. I walked up to the bar to order a drink, and you introduced yourself. That was it. There was like nothing special. That was the fifth. It was Oasis, which is a spanking event in Las Vegas that happens twice a year over like Labor Day weekend and whatever the February one is, President's Day weekend. That was my fifth one I'd gone to, and then I met you. So I'd been to a couple and not really met someone who I dated or became my dom. And then I'd also been to TASP and multiple other spanking parties, like one-night parties that had happened in New York City. I went to a lot of events before I met you. Like, invested a lot of time, money, traveled. Had you gone to many of those events?
No, like I said before, I was not much of a public player. I have been to one TASP, I believe it was 2022. This Oasis was only the second national event or even public event that I think I'd been to. Everything else has been private play in some capacity, you know?
Yeah.
Always finding people to play one-on-one with. I had a couple of sessions where there were 2 women, but nothing public. It was always in private homes and things like that.
Okay, so how are you meeting those people? People want to know how to meet a dom. I actually think that speaks to how you had much more opportunity. There are more subs than doms. So you had a bigger pool to pick from. Doms are genuinely, whether you're a man or a woman, if you are seeking a dom, they are harder to find because you have so many options. What is your advice to subs looking for a dom?
We are both in very tricky situations. As a dom, I can't really get online and say, I'm looking for X and Y and Z, because the world out there labels you as a weirdo or a creep real quick if you are into certain things, you know,
within the dom subspace. Like,
yeah.
I feel like after, like, there's a dating app called Feeld, Feeld, and now there's BD app, Beedee, and I'm going to put a link to BD app in the show notes because that's specifically for people into kink. Those apps exist, and I think saying you're a dom on those makes it much easier. Don't you think it's gotten easier to say you're a dom, or do you specifically mean being into impact play?
I just mean in general, like, a lot of people, I don't have a good answer for this without sounding too...
No, say it.
The Me Too movement, plus all of the feminist movements and everything else, really made it hard as a man to come out as a dominant individual for a while. Because you instantly got cancel culture. I mean, just instantly turned you off.
Do you think so?
People. Oh.
I think what it actually was is every idiot calling themselves a dom and acting like you acted at 21, as opposed to real doms. Because I've met real doms online. Do you think... Okay, that's fair. I'm a sub looking for something specific. I'm not trying to... I jumped on you there, but I'm like, okay, fair. On those dating apps, it's harder because you also could receive a lot of hate.
You can. The funny thing is I'm always open in my communication.
Yeah.
So putting yourself out there is obviously the hardest thing in anything. And that's going to be your number one struggle when looking for anything, is you do have to put yourself out there in some capacity. There are ways to put yourself out there that aren't as open and apparent as others. They're a little, what do they call them now? Easter eggs and things like that you can drop in certain dating apps and things like that in conversation just to see how people bite. Throw the fish hook out there, see what you catch kind of thing. If there's no nibbles on it, you just kind of move on.
I give advice on like emojis to use, ways to hint at it. But obviously you didn't even have to go to parties to meet people. Like, you were meeting people.
I met people in the vanilla dating apps is the way I met people.
And I'm not saying it's easier for you, except I am saying it's easier for you. As a guy who's willing to take on a dominant role, maybe you weren't having your needs met exactly, but a lot of people were looking for doms, so you would fit together in a specific way. Are you telling subs to look for people on dating apps? Are you saying when they create a dating app, hint at it?
You're going to find a lot of frustration. If you're looking for something very specific, it definitely limits your pool down. And so you are going to find a lot of frustration in that. If that's what you're looking for and all you're looking for, you need to do it with intention. You're going to be more frustrated, in my opinion, going out there looking for that and then continuing to settle for the things that aren't what you're looking for. You're like, oh, I'm on all the dating apps. I'm putting my feelers out there, but I'll entertain all of these other ideas too. Like, no, if you're looking for this, then you put Easter eggs in there. One of my Easter eggs that I used to use, I forget what dating app it was, it was a prompt and it said, what's one of your shower thoughts recently? And I was like, adults are probably spanked more than kids nowadays. Anybody who commented on that as their first intro, I was like, okay, you're commenting on the spanking thing, the one thing that mentions the word spanking, and then you come in a little flirty. You're just like, most people I talk to, whenever they comment on this, they're secretly into spanking. That was the simple segue in. And then you talk about it, you kind of joke a little bit. You can't move strictly into that conversation because then you're just the weirdo talking about spanking online, but you flirt with a little bit, then you flirt with them, you get to know them a little bit, and then you say, okay, so let's talk about this if you don't mind. Let's go back to and talk about what level is this? Because everybody, to some capacity, I believe most traditional women like to be spanked in some capacity. I mean, whether it's a smack on the butt, walking behind them when they're making breakfast, whether it's holding the door open.
Yeah, that's like a tap, though.
It
not
is.
What we're talking about.
Here's the thing. I've met people who say they're into spanking, but what they meant was just while they're doggy styling, just during sex.
Which is my least favorite. But anyway, what is the best Easter egg you've ever seen that someone was submissive?
I actually have had friends that do this, and theirs was always, I only like vanilla in my ice cream. It's simple, it's effective, that's what they were, or I only like vanilla sprinkles. Something like that, because otherwise people don't really, they look past me like, oh, they only like vanilla sprinkles, or, they don't like the chocolate or the rainbow or whatever. No, just that little bit, then the right people see that. Whenever you have the right code word, only the people who need to read it can read it. And then, like I said, you're not putting yourself out there as hard. You're definitely putting yourself out there, but the only people who are going to see it and understand it are people who understand it. So they're not going to be the judgmental ones.
Okay, that's fair. My advice is that people should be going to these events if they want to meet someone, both doms and subs. I think it's worth it. We differ on this because we talk about it a lot. You share a lot of other opinions. I'm an extroverted person. I like to go talk to people. I'll show up to any event and find people to talk to and have a good time. You're kind of like that, except when it comes to kink events.
Yeah. I mean, I could still talk. I could sell ice to polar bears.
But it doesn't bother you to go to kink events?
Not really.
Then why did you not go to so many?
I don't enjoy that style of play, I guess.
What style?
I enjoy more interpersonal communication and things, and just the whole weekend running around frolicking kind of thing just isn't my style. And if I'm going to be spanking somebody or playing with somebody for the weekend, for me, I'm too jealous a person to want to share that with other people, if that makes sense. So
you want more intimate connection.
Yeah.
Okay, what made you go to this event?
Friends. I had friends going that were like, you need to come out here and do this. And I was like, all right, well, they've asked me ever since. It was the same friend I went to TASP with in 2022.
Okay.
She was also the same friend that was like, you should really sign up for this. And I had another good friend that was like, I haven't seen you since TASP 2022. You should come out for this one. And I didn't buy my ticket till 2 weeks before the event, and then went out there. My hotel room was not in the block that everybody else's hotel room was because I was late to the party and everything else, which usually means I get a better hotel room, but don't try to take that hack from me.
Okay, I'm glad you did show up, so thank you to those friends who forced you to come to that event. But, you made friends by showing up to the event in the first place. And then they're the ones who, ultimately, that led you to meet your girlfriend and your submissive.
Correct.
I just want to, really say that I understand how difficult it is, how much you are not a fan of parties. But what happened is you went to one party, developed friendships. Those friends led you to come to another party. And that is how we met.
Yes.
It's a way that works, and I understand people don't enjoy putting themselves outside of their comfort zone or doing things you were like, well, I'm not into playing like this. But there are many people, there were hundreds of people there to meet and talk to and become friends with.
And I will say, if you do go to these events, play inside your comfort level. Just because you're at this event doesn't mean you have to play with everybody. It doesn't mean you have to go outside your comfort levels. It doesn't mean you have to be in the public spaces and the rooms and everything else. There are events you can go to and certain things you can go to. I mean, one of the big events that I enjoy is the dinner and the dance. Everybody dresses up, and I had buttons on my shirt, which is not normal for me. I'm much more blue collar than that. Wore some nice slacks. She wore a beautiful dress. Nice dinner, and then there was a dance afterwards. it. So it's, like
Social.
we're going back to prom, and just there was nothing kinky about it necessarily other than the people you're with. And that is something I enjoy, is meeting people of like mind that you can be yourself about. You can joke about certain things that you can't joke about with your vanilla friends and things like that, even if you're not necessarily playing in that direction. Because we would go out and, my favorite thing about that weekend that we met was not necessarily being at the event, but meeting people at the event and doing what I would call vanilla activities in the real world with kinky people.
Exactly. Thanks for saying what I wanted you to say.
Mm-hmm. I'm being trained, apparently.
Yeah. I believe that. I think that both people train each other. You teach people how to love you. I think you also teach people how to dom you and how to submit to you. And I think we're all in training. Anyone who's entering into a relationship is in training. More advice for subs then, because that's like what I want to understand. What do you think makes a submissive easy or difficult to lead? Like, I think that's another thing. I speak with a lot of submissives. They're like, I want a dom to be X, Y, and Z. And one of the things I do is I talk to them about how it's a relationship, so you have to compromise on things. Like, what have you seen makes it easier to lead or be dominant or like speak to the communication of it?
Here's the biggest thing in any relationship, period: flexibility. And we're not just talking about in the bedroom, we're talking about everything. You need to be flexible in the way you communicate, how you love, how you care, all of those kinds of things. And this doesn't mean on everything. To be in a true relationship, if you want to be in something long-term with somebody specifically, you have to understand what you're about, who you're about, figure out what your non-negotiables are. Those are things that you're not flexible on. And you need to communicate those early on, but everything else is flexible. You need to be able to hear and listen to understand and respond to make a difference. Listening to understand what the other person's going through is the number one big thing. So if you're a submissive person trying to get the dom to do something or trying to explain how you feel, you need to be able to explain it, but they also need to be able to listen to understand it and not listen to respond. And that goes both ways. As a dominant person, you need to listen to understand and then respond to be heard, but also you need to be willing to be a little flexible. If your dominant style doesn't 100% work, it's not going to work. Being somewhat flexible in that and the way you communicate, there are certain ways that we communicate now that the gung-ho approach isn't always the best approach.
Would that have been your natural approach before?
Not necessarily. I think at a young age, whenever I was doing it, that would be my approach. I was like, oh no, I have to be the most dominant person. And I still struggle with that. Like, there are times where I'm like, no, I have to do this because I'm the dominant one. And obviously the brain's just doing what the brain does, and you talk yourself out of it. But I have to process through that thought process of like, no, I don't have to just be dominant here. Like, I can step back a little bit and listen a little longer. But at the end of the day, as the dominant one, you have to be the one that leads. So you can also lead by giving up the reins. It sounds asinine, I understand, but like, if you don't know or don't understand, it's just as powerful to lead by saying, I was wrong. I messed up. You probably shouldn't have been punished for that. Thank you for taking that. We'll communicate that better next time. Or
have you ever punished me and regretted punishing me?
No. No.
Okay, alright, I was like, wait,
no.
Have I gotten something I didn't deserve?
No. Have I done it in the past? Yes.
Okay, fair.
Have I got so gung-ho that I'm like, no, I am in charge, you are not in charge, like, you did this and this and this and this, and it was a misunderstanding through the whole thing.
How do you learn emotional regulation then? Because I think it does get really emotional.
It does. For me, I never spank whenever I'm overly frustrated. Obviously, the little things that you're a little frustrated and things like that, sure. But if you don't feel emotionally regulated in your own self, probably shouldn't be engaging in any kind of activity like that. Let your mind calm down, let yourself refocus, calm the waters, then reapproach. And it's okay to say, I'm not in a place to deal with this right now. I need to separate. Something we did in our relationship is we set up a rule that said, if we need space, we communicate space. Now, that means that we tell each other, I still care about you. I need to separate. I'm going to separate for this long, however long that is. Or if you don't know, I don't know how long that is. But we have a rule that we check in every morning and every night, regardless of how we're feeling. Hey, I'm still needing space. I still care about you, but I need space. And then the next morning, slept it off, still frustrated, still need space, still care about you, moving forward.
Which is really hard, though, still. To know
it sucks.
That, like, because it's happened on both sides, I think. To know that, essentially, you have fucked up, the other person is annoyed at you, but also understands they need to process through it before they come back and have a regulated conversation about it. It's like a punishment in itself that's not meant to be a punishment at all. It's literally like, this is the healthiest thing for both of us.
Right.
And I think giving each other the space to do that is a way, I think we've both grown. Because here are things that I have never, and seriously will try and hold myself to, will never do with you. I have never hung up the phone on you. And I have done that in previous relationships. And we've been frustrated enough at each other on calls at times, because long distance is hard, that I think that there are times where I easily, in the past, with a different partner, would have just hung up.
Well, and it's funny because there are times that you've said things like, okay, I need to go. I'm like, no. There have been certain discussions and things we've had on the phone where you're just like, I just need, I'm like, no, we're going to sit right here. We're going to talk about this longer. Like, even if we're not hanging up, we're not hanging up this way. Like,
that, no, that's
like, we're going to continue to talk.
One really big
breathe.
time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But that's where you lead. Like, it wasn't bullying. It wasn't trying just to throw weight. It was a no, like, this is my job to lead this role. I understand we're both frustrated and everything else, and a lot of this is coming through emotion. Calling that emotion out and saying, this is where it is, this is what I see, is a healthy thing to do. Calling the demons to light in anything is a huge thing. It's hard to do, especially with yourself, but with other people too, because then they get frustrated. I mean, some people don't like having their demons called out. I don't, but it's super healthy because once you bring them to light, you give them the time of day, now all of a sudden they have no power.
Yeah, that's on both sides. It's kind of calling each other on their bullshit, but like in a really loving way. Like,
hey, you're being this way because of X and Y and Z. You're frustrated because you haven't slept. You're doing this because of this. There's trauma coming out from your past that's doing this and this and this. And it's causing this. And if we, can't push through this right now, then we need to slow down what this dynamic is doing in this instance. Like, if this is going to push you more into trauma, let's slow down. Let's pull back a little bit. But this is being triggered because of this. And calling those things out allows you to then understand the emotion, process the emotion, and better navigate the emotion in the next train.
Here's one thing that I will say. You are scarily good. It was one of the things that attracted to you at first. Scarily good at reading people. You are one of the best people I've ever met at reading people. In fact, when we went to a group lunch, our first time really hanging out with each other, we were at a group lunch. We knew we were interested in each other to a certain extent, but I got lost in thought, as I do sometimes, and you looked at me and said, "Where'd you go?" Implying that I was not really with the conversation because you noticed it. And I don't think anyone else at that table would have noticed. Everyone has certain strengths and weaknesses. That's a strength of yours that I don't take for granted. So finding those things out about the other person is helpful too, and then never weaponizing that.
That's the big thing, is never weaponize anything, especially if somebody's being vulnerable with you, sharing with you, that kind of stuff. And this counts both in the relationship and out of the relationship. If that relationship ends for whatever reason, you don't then go and try to weaponize any kind of thing shared in trust. I mean, that's just poor taste. But the big thing is, there are things we share with each other that we don't share with other people, number one. But number two, we hold that securely for the other person. You don't ever use it as a weapon. You don't ever try to leverage it as a position. There are ways we don't push each other's buttons because we're giving each other the ammunition to burn down, take the whole person down, and we don't use that against each other.
Never. But that, again, that's just like common decency too. That's being in a healthy relationship.
Right. In this same regard, nothing is stupid. If somebody feels vulnerable about something and they share it with you in vulnerability, no matter how foolish it sounds or inadequate or, undeserving of attention, that meant something to that person, we hear that person.
Give me an example of that. Is there something that I have shared that you thought, well, think about it. Take a second. Like,
I'll think about it.
I've shared that you were like, this has no merit, no weight, but it's something that she thinks or feels.
Nothing comes to mind, but I also have that short-term memory of whenever, like, if I'm not immediately thinking about it, the ADHD side of my brain just puts it so far back until it's triggered back up by something else. Mm-hmm. So I'll be up at 2 a.m. in the morning and I'll roll over and I'll be like, we need to go re-record because I just thought of something or whatever it is. But
yeah. No, you know what? For me, there is an example I think that you took seriously even though you didn't. We got in like a joke fight. I don't even know, like that's such a stupid thing to call it, but it was. And you made a joke about me being dumb or something. And it was a joke, but I was so upset by it. Like it kept me up that night. There was something that happened where I went to turn on the fan or something and you're like, oh, you have to turn the light switch on before you press the fan button. And I was like, that's when it all came out, because I was like, you think I'm dumb, you think I'm stupid, you said it, and like you took the time to explain that that's not how you felt at all. And I think we decided there are no more joke fights happening anymore.
The problem with those joke fights is a lot of times they just put everybody one-ups the other person, and somebody ends up hurt more than the other person, and that's whenever it always ends.
Well, that's because you made a joke about my intelligence, but I pulled out something that I knew was just gonna, I was like, we're going nuclear on this joke fight.
And that's where I had to step up and stay with my consistency and say, that was too far.
Yeah.
We're done. We're not having this conversation anymore. and we walked past it.
I should have also said, okay, no, this is too far. You
Right.
really upset me now. The reason I bring that up is I really felt like we had a very serious conversation where you heard me out, and it wasn't just like, I don't feel this way. I think some of those things stick sometimes.
And that's the hard part is if you hear of your partners, your play partner, your relationship partner, whatever partner you want to have, even your friends. I mean, this is something that is common decency. If you have friends that have insecurities and things like that, you just don't make those jokes. If somebody's insecure about height, weight, the fullness of their hair, their skin tone, whatever it is, you don't use that as a leverage point to make fun of, even in little ways. You just don't. If they're not comfortable 100%, you just don't need to push those buttons. Trust me, there are 100 other ways to make fun of somebody if you want to make fun of them. Just don't use those ones.
Yeah, that's good advice.
If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with anyone who might find it interesting. And if you have any questions or topics you'd like me to cover in future episodes, feel free to reach out. Email info@thekinkconsultant.com. Until next time, keep on kinking on.